It's Blow Your Mind Learning with Lyle Dilly. We're here to learn how to break apart multiple original drawings using Photoshop and importing it into Adobe Animate. Hi, and welcome to another edition of Blow Your Mind Learning with Lyle Dilly. I know a lot of you guys are great artists, and a lot of you would love to use your original drawings and actually animate them. And I'm here real quick to show you in Adobe Photoshop how to cut them apart, build them into a couple different layers, and easily import all that information directly into Adobe Animate so that you can animate it. All right? Really cool thing that you can do to really streamline the entire process and make it very simple and fast. Okay? So, to begin, later on we're actually going to be animating some of what we're going to be cutting out. So what I wanted to do was make my own drawings. So I drew some cool cows, some other information. I drew a spaceship, which I'll show you later. And I want to go ahead and cut these out, make them a little bit better, and pull them into Adobe Animate so I can animate them later. All right. So for that being said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open Adobe Photoshop. Quick warning though, some of the stuff that I'm going to show here only works for Adobe Photoshop 2015 or above, like 2015, 2015.5, or 2017. Some of the older versions does not have some of the features I'm going to show you. If not, if you're using Adobe Cloud, this should be not an issue whatsoever. If not, some of the stuff I'm going to show you will work just fine, but not all of it. So just keep that in mind as you're watching this, all right? So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Adobe Photoshop. Got Photoshop right now, and I'm going to go ahead and open up the cow drawing I did, all right? All right, there's the cow drawing. Pretty, pretty, pretty. Love my cow drawing, all right? Now I've got my cow drawing up here. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit so we can see it a little better. And we can see that I have the actual main body of the cow. I have a separate tail because I'm going to animate that. I have its eyes being closed and its eyes halfway to do kind of a blinking animation. So I went ahead and cut all this out and did it. First thing I want to do to make this a little easier is I am going to crop it. I don't need all the information that's on the top and on the bottom. This is from a photo I actually took with my phone. All right, so you don't have to have a fancy scanner in order to do this. You can just use your phone, take that photo information, and actually start manipulating it so that you can use it. All right, that's exactly what I did here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to crop it. All right, so just like any crop, I can just click and drag. Oh, look, my ratios information is here, but I'm going to go ahead and just say original ratio. No, I don't want the original ratio. I want no ratio. So you clear this out like I just did. Clear it out. You can make it any ratio you want. That's what I'm going to do. Boom. Now I cropped it out to make it a little bit easier. Now that it's fully cropped, I want to go ahead and start pulling out information. Alright, what I want to do in order to make this image just a little bit darker, make the gray, pull the grays out, and actually make the background a little whiter, is I want to go ahead and adjust the levels. Alright, which is in Photoshop, Control L. It's actually under Image, Adjustments, and Levels. Alright, Control L. And you notice that there's this big old white curve. This is basically most of the information that's in your photo itself. So I'm going to just take my left, which is the blacks. I'm going to pull it to the left. You notice that it's already getting a little darker. You see that? Alright, I'm going to take this, pull a little bit to the left. My blacks are already getting a little bit darker. Alright, this one right here, pull to the left, it's already getting a little bit darker. Then I'm going to take the whites here and pull it and make the whites a little whiter. And look, I've already got a brightened image that I can go ahead and start using. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and press OK. Now once I have a better image that I want to go ahead and use, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start cutting it out. Use a feature, like I said, that's only in 2015 or above. The feature is called Select and Mask. It's right underneath the rectangular masking tool, which is right here. Okay, and this comes up. It's called Select and Mask. And go ahead and click it. Now these tools up here come up. We've got the plus and minus. We've got the actual the paintbrush here feature. Go ahead and take your transparency, pull it to 50%. Trust me, it's going to help out a lot. Make sure it's at least 50%. All right, without it, you can't even see what you're doing without it. All right, I'm going to pull those properties over here so you can see the other thing that you need to change, and that's the output settings right here. You go to output settings, make sure that it's a selection. If it doesn't say selection, some of the stuff we're going to show you isn't going to work. So, to go back, first thing that we do is that we make sure that this is selected up here, transparency is 50%, and my output settings is still selection. Okay? Fair enough. Next thing that I want to do is I'm going to go on here. Right now my paintbrush is at 50. I'm going to bring that down a little bit. 30. I don't need it quite so high. And what it's going to do is it's going to start selecting out the background. Okay? This kind of selection is a lot better than a lot of selection tools in Photoshop in the past, which is the reason why I like it so much. All right? So all I do is just click and drag. Click and drag, and you notice it's already starting to select information out of that background. All right? But what it's really doing is selecting the background. So once I do that, I actually want to select the cow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to invert this. Okay? You invert it by pressing this button right here. You'll see it says invert. Press the invert button. You'll see now the cow is highlighted. So now every dark portion that is highlighted now is what's going to crop out. Okay? So I need to also now make this to a negative. Negative, which is take out the background. Negative. By the way, that invert feature won't really work until you take a little bit of the background out. Not sure why that is. It's just kind of life. This is working great though, so I don't mind it because it's just one button. It only takes a second. Now, I'm going to start taking out that. Look at this. Look how quick this is. All right, you can even see as I'm zooming in how fast this is once I get this right. Just taking out the background. Look at that. All right, you can tell with all these hash marks, I mean these boxes, that all the background's being taken out almost immediately. Okay? Now, it's not perfect. I'm going to be honest with you. This is not perfect. We need to be aware of its not perfectness. Okay? So, in order to make sure that it's got everything right, first thing I do is kind of mess with my transparency, look at the background and foreground, and make sure that it's pulling out the stuff that I want to. Okay? In order to make sure that it got everything, if you look here, you notice that this edge of this, let me zoom in a little bit, this edge of this tail is looking a little light, while all the things around it is looking dark. That means that it's not cropping that out properly. So if I press the plus feature, maybe make this a little bit smaller, look, I instantly pull back some of those colors. Look at that. Look at that. And still have all of that. I can go back, go to the transparency, pull it back a little bit and make sure that I'm cutting out exactly what I want. Look at that. It's exactly what I want. Boom. Make sure I click about in here. It's keeping all the original drawings, all the little intricacies that I wanted on it, making sure that I keep all the little features that I had actually drawn, you know, into my cool cow, making sure it's all kept there, the best of its knowledge, all right? And yet everything that I wanted to pull out gets pulled out properly. All right, love this feature. As you can tell, I love this feature, but it's pulling out everything properly with not much work. And anybody who's ever dealt with Photoshop and you're trying to cut stuff out, you can know that this can be a tedious process. And it's doing a pretty decent job of finding these edges and keeping all the information that you had originally got with your drawings. Even with all the little edge problems that this may have, you notice that it's pulling it out quite well. All right? Boom. Love it. All right, let's move on to the next part. Next part's real easy. You just press OK. What it's going to do is it's going to literally make a selection. So I'm going to go ahead and press OK. And you can tell by these little dancing ants that's going around that it's actually cut out the image. All right. So now all I have to do is make a new layer. All right. Let me go ahead and move myself a little bit. I'm going to move myself a little bit, and if you look over here, I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to take a new layer by copying and pasting. Once I copy and paste, you'll see that the information copied from here, put into here, and created a transparency behind it. It's literally that easy. But we're going to take it one more step further. Now, if you notice, the eyes and the tail are actually separate images. Now, remember, we're actually taking it and cutting out these images. So you can draw a bunch of stuff on one sheet of paper and go into Photoshop and separate it, getting ready for Adobe Animate for you to animate those separate sections, which makes life a lot easier. You don't have to draw on a bunch of separate pieces of paper. You can do it on one and then separate it using layers. So here's all I'm going to do to separate it. I'm going to go back to this marquee button right here. Okay, make sure that I selected the first layer. All right, which I am going to name, by the way. I'm going to call it main body. All right, I'm going to make the background disappear so you can see the transparency. Okay, now what I'm going to do, make sure I got main body selected. I'm going to go over here where the marquee, and I'm just going to select. Let me zoom in so you can see it a little bit better. I'm just going to select the draw around and select the actual tail. Once I do that, I'm just going to press Control X, which is cut. Or under Edit, I'm going to cut it. Control X, which is going to make it disappear. But it's now saved in my clipboard. Once I saved it in my clipboard, I just paste it. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to separate anything. Photoshop knows that when I'm pasting something and I'm on a drawing like this, it's actually going to create a new layer, which I love. All right? It actually does make life a lot faster, a lot quicker. So if I press Control V or Edit, Paste, it now created a new layer. Look, it put it in here, but that's okay. We can move it wherever we want. I'm going to put it right back to the original spot. It is now a separate layer, which I'm going to name Tail. Okay, now I've got a tail layer and I've got a main body layer. Oh, but there's still these eyes up here. All right, so same thing. I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to crop out. Oh, make sure that you're selecting it all. The closed eyes. Go back to main body. This is important. I went back to the main body section because that's where the information is. It's not under tail. It's in the main body section. And then I'm going to copy. No, not copy. Control X for cut. Control V for paste. It now made a new layer. Closed eyes. All right? See that? I can make my eyes disappear on things. It's all net on things. I'll do this last one for the half eyes. Control X. Control V. Makes a new layer. Boom. All right? Once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and say half eyes. Now I got my half eyes up. All I really want to do now is save it. All right. So this is another cow. I actually did one before this, but we're going to go ahead and save this one. I love this version of it. Finish cow 2. Now that I have that, I'm done. All right. I can go ahead and close this and open up Adobe Animate and start pulling all this information in. Okay. So pull myself down here for a second. And go ahead and open up Adobe Animate. Boom. Here I am, Adobe Animate. And I'm going to go ahead and create a new file. All right. New. I'm going to make it just like I would any normal animations. I'm going to make it an HD file, which is 1280 by 720. 24 frames per second is fine. Action script 3. Press OK. Once I'm done with that, I'm now going to import the information. Okay, so I go File, Import. I'm going to go ahead and import the library. All right, I'm going to go now find where I put it, which is in my thumb drive. Cow to open. All right, and then look, already main body, half eyes, closed eyes, tail, all that information is there. Okay, it's all selected. I don't want the background. I don't need the background imported. I just need the layers that I want, that I have, that have the transparencies on them, and I'm going to go ahead and import. Boom, 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 import. Now look, right over here. All right, you see that I have finished cow. All right, which is the original Photoshop. But look, there's the folder, and in that folder has closed eyes, half eyes, main body, and tail. It's done. Now the information can be instantly put onto your onto your animation. So I'll show you one. I'm going to take the main body, pull it onto the stage, and boom, it's right there. I'm going to go ahead and press Q, make it a little smaller, fit the page a little better. I can now instantly make this a symbol, all right, which is F8. All right, F8. Let's just go ahead and call this main body. I now have a symbol. All right, I now have an instant symbol that I can use, animate, and do all sorts of cool stuff with. All right, it was that we went from drawing it, we went into Photoshop, then we were able to import it, and now I also have it so I can do these things. I can even have a tail, make the tail a little smaller, make the tail into also a symbol by pressing F8, tail. Now I have a tail, and then I can animate as well. I can even put it behind it by arranging it. Arrange, bring to front, boom. Now I have a cow with a tail. Okay? Well, thanks for listening. I'm sure you learned a lot. Hopefully this will inspire you to do your own drawings and start animating that. Doing it in Photoshop is really easy, but remember, before I let you go, remember that this is a transparency. So I'm going to go ahead and insert another layer. Now I can go into this layer and make a background where I can make it any color that I want to be. Let's actually make it a color now. let's make it into I don't know, blue, and boom, perfect transparency. All right, I can now animate it, do whatever I want to do, make the tails do what I want it to do, have fun with my original drawing, which will make a great animation in the future. Again, I want to thank you for watching Blow Your Mind with Lyle Dilly. The next video, I'm actually going to show you how to take some of these drawings and actually build a drawing using different shapes within Flash, and actually use it as a reference rather than directly. But it's really up to you, the kind of look that you want for your animations, but we'll make sure that both is available for you. All right? Again, thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys later.